Shalom, Israel. It's the I.S.U.P.K. Minneapolis Historical Truths Revealed class. And today we are about to touch on a very important topic, which is police brutality. We're going to teach on the historical facts, history behind the police department, where it came from, how did it look in the 1500s all the way to the 1800s and even today, all right? And within the topic, we are going to recap based on the information that is going to be brought out to see, how has police shaped the world as we know in America and other places as well, all right? So before we get into that, I just want to say that we got the 49th annual Passover hosted by Commanding General Yohanna. It's going to be at the Roosevelt Ballroom, 2nd Hudson Street, Yonkers, New York, March 30th, sundown, and that's $200 per family. And if you cannot provide it for yourself, understand that the head over Israel, is going to provide it for you, all right? So with that being said, we're going to touch on police brutality, okay? And with police brutality, in the system of policing in America, it's been shaky when it comes to Blacks, Hispanic, and Native American people. And the reason is because a lot of people believe that police do not help people of color, which is very honest and true. And we're going to get the proof in the Bible and also the proof in history, okay? So before we get into that, does anybody know anything about the Boston Massacre? No one knows anything about the Boston Massacre? Go ahead.
You talking about the thing that kicked off the war, the Civil War between British and America?
That's right. That's right. So,
okay.
Yep, that's right. So that would be like in the late 1700s. So does anybody know how many people died and who was the first casualty to die?
So,
okay. And I no sweat. It's all good. Go ahead.
Well, I know the first casualty was a Black man, but I don't know how many people died though.
That's right. No sweat. Yep. Well, give him a man for that though. That's good. That's good. And I'll tell you why I'm bringing this out, because 5 people died that day, and the first man was a Black man that died, and he was targeted first, of course. See what I'm saying? And the thing was, his name was Crispus Attucks. Crispus Attucks was, a Black man who was considered to be a freed slave. With him being a freed slave, he got caught in a mix of this shootout that happened outside of this building. And what happened was, there was some heated tension between the British and the so-called redcoats. Now the redcoats, what would be called the police back then. Redcoats were like the British soldiers. You see what I'm saying? People would start throwing snowballs at them. Things got a little bit heated. Guns went off. Crispus Attucks got killed first, and a few other people got killed as well. But the thing is, they really should never called it a bloody, a Boston Massacre, because only 5 people died. A massacre is, Native Americans being slaughtered and killed by the millions. You know what I mean? That's a massacre. You see what I'm saying? The Black man being killed, that was a murder. And it was considered a murder as well. And so with them being the first casualty being killed, what later happened on is when it went to trial, one of the Adams brothers, I believe it was John Adams, he had defended the soldiers. And this is what he said. He said that it was an unruly mob that forced his clients to open fire. So what he said was that because his soldiers did this, it was justified. It was a good deed. because they were trying to defend themselves, but over some damn snowballs. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense. And in the midst of Crispus Attucks trading one devil to the next, you know what I mean, he got killed behind all of this. And through history, we have to understand that Black, Hispanic, and Native American people have never been in good hands when it came to, keeping company with the white people. If you look at all the movies of famous Black actors and actresses, they always die around white people. It's never technically by themselves, but it's around white people. And all through slavery, Black people have tried many things to gain white people's, trust, their love, their respect, and they die in the midst of all of it. Because Crispus Attucks was born into slavery, but he had fled, and he got away with it because he also used to do trading. See what I'm saying? He was trading things, and so he pretty much traded one devil to another, and that's with him being affiliated with the soldiers and things of that sort, he got killed behind it. And they really threw dirt on his name and said that he was just a person to be sticking around, and no one got charged for his murder because the verdict came out and said that nobody is guilty for killing him or killing the other 4 people. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So understand that the white man is the devil that the Bible speaks of.
That's right.
That's the greatest statement that I can say for things like that. The white man is the devil that the Bible speaks of, because no matter what your status is as a Black, Hispanic, or Native American man, nobody shows you any love or respect, any compassion. They can care less who the hell you are. And that's why as a people, we must keep company with each other, because the scriptures always talks about Black, Hispanic, and Native American people coming together as a nation. It never says to bring your white friends. It never says to bring your Arab friends, your African friends. It doesn't say none of that, because the God of the Bible is not a God of all love for all people.
Right.
He is a God of love, you're damn right, but it's only for a chosen people, and that's the nation of Israel.
That's right.
Although we're getting our ass whooped and we're, suffering and dying the way that we are, it's because we did something wrong. See what I'm saying? We joined ourselves to other gods, and we forsaken the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments, which were the rules that governed and guided us to a righteous lifestyle. And because of that, because we don't keep it no more, the Most High doesn't keep the protection on us like he did Job. See what I'm saying? So that's just a little introduction, all right? So I need you to get actually, can you get Zephaniah 11:5 for me?
Okay.
And Zephaniah 11:5 is a scripture that we're going to continue to read throughout the whole topic, because a lot of people don't really understand the spirit behind this scripture. All right. While you're doing that, let me go ahead and get this other one too as well. That'll be perfect for the topic. Go ahead.
What scripture you said?
Zephaniah 11:5. Oh, Zechariah. I get those mixed up. It's either Zephaniah or Zechariah. My bad. If you can't find it, just go to the table context. It should be Zechariah 11:5. In the meantime, does anybody got questions? No questions? All right. Just give me one second, all right? And what you're going to find out is that, back then, the white man police force or police department was named, slave catchers. Mm-hmm. Police were made for slave catchers. You see what I'm saying? You got it? Yeah, it should be 11. Yep, 11:5. All right.
I got it.
If you ever get lost as far as which scripture we're on, you can always just ask. Okay? All right. Go ahead.
Zechariah chapter 11, verse 5. Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty.
Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. If you pay attention, if you look at the information behind the verdict and behind what John Adams had said and how he defended his soldiers but did not defend Crispus Attucks, you understand that these people are evil. No matter what type of, I mean, if it comes down to, okay, when it comes down to white people, if there's a black person in the midst of anything, white people are always going to side with their nation, with their people, because first things first, it doesn't make sense for a white man to, it doesn't make sense for a jury or a judge to slander or try to, fire the cops when the cops are getting paid by the government, are getting paid by the state to enslave and to, keep the control, keep the order that America has always set up. So what you find out is that, the police catchers, the slave catchers, which are still police, it started off in Britain. It started off in other places, then it came to America. See what I'm saying? It's not a coincidence that every country has, the same system on how they deal with black people. And it's always something cruel and brutish. All right. Like the book of Isaiah says that they are a brutish people. All right. Paraphrasing, of course. I need you to read that one more time for me.
Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty.
Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. That's the white man. Every time the verdict comes out, Philando Castile, not guilty. Walter Scott, not guilty. Eric Gardner, not guilty. Mike Brown, not guilty. Trayvon Martin, not guilty. The whole earth was mad when the whole Trayvon Martin thing went on. Even celebrities, damn near was on the verge of calling the white man the devil. I remember being on Twitter that day and hearing that, not guilty. And around this time, I believe this was a year before I came into the school. And I can only imagine how other black people would have, felt during that time. And that day I hated the white man. See what I'm saying? And I just didn't know it, but I had some anger. See what I'm saying? I remember how uncomfortable it was going to school the next day and that being the main topic in like 2-3 of my classes. You know what I mean? Because it was such a terrible tragedy for black people, but not America. When I say America, I'm talking about white people. White people don't give a damn. They live their life. They keep doing what they're doing. Right. See what I'm saying? They might put their 2 damn cents in. Oh, I feel sorry, or I feel bad. That's never not true. You see what I'm saying? So keep going on that. Read that one more time. No, actually keep going.
Come. And they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich.
Say that one more time.
Come. And they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich.
Keep going.
And their own shepherds pity them not.
So the white man always boasts in them killing us. If anybody paid attention when it came to Trayvon Martin, right? Zimmerman, made multiple comments and statements and jokes about killing Trayvon Martin. And in the midst, he got beat up, you know what I mean? But it would have been better if he got killed behind it. You see what I'm saying? It would have been better if his blood was shed for Trayvon Martin's, family, his mother and his father. See what I'm saying? Like, Trayvon Martin and his father were like best friends. And I can only imagine what a father would go through or went through at that time, knowing that their son has been, killed by the hands of a disgusting white man, and understand that he had no position of trying to, do anything to Trayvon Martin because he was not a cop. He was at what they call it, neighborhood watch. He was neighborhood watch. You're still not a damn cop. That still doesn't give you permission to kill a black man.
Right.
But we have to understand that we are in hell. We are still, suffering from the curses in the book of, Deuteronomy, chapter 28. And through all the curses, man, black people have to learn. We have to learn that it's time to change something. All this ass whooping that we got from the white man from years and years, it should allow us to, think about what is the solution to all this. How can we stop the police brutality? How can we stop black people dying the way that they are? That's something that black people have to think about. You see what I'm saying? It's not all entirely our fault, but we have to take responsibilities for the sins that we have committed against the Lord. You see what I'm saying? The Most High is one hell of a righteous Father. And the Most High said in the book of Ezekiel that he has no pleasure in our deaths. He has no pleasure. But like a good father, he disciplines and chastises those that are his children. Right. And if that means that you got to get killed, then shalom. But what he does is, hey, that's it. Shalom, that's it. But that's why he also has a thing called reincarnation.
That's right.
And with the reincarnation, there's also a scripture that says that, when he brings you back, he's bringing you back to give you more and more chances to get your shit together, to get your life together. I mean, how many times have we been on the earth and we then sinned against the Most High, and, he gave us so many chances to the point that he allowed us to be in the truth, man. He allowed us to see another day, another opportunity in life. Remind you, if it wasn't for Christ, we will all be done for. You know what I mean? And I thank Christ, I thank the Most High for the opportunity of living again. And with this opportunity, we have something to offer Black, Hispanic, Native American people before they end up in a worse condition, or worser condition, which is death. Crack is one thing. Being a homosexual is one thing. Being a whore is one thing. But when you're dead, you're dead. You see what I'm saying? And so how many times will we continue the cycle? We got to change something. All right. So, Salaki, that was a little sidebar. But go ahead. I want you to start reading that so we get to it.
Con. Origins of police department and police brutality. As an instrument of oppression and control, modern police departments are deeply rooted in some of the most racist and repressive colonial
right.
institutions of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Since the establishment of the first police system, like the Night Watch, the Barbadians Slave Code, the Urban Slave Patrol, to the professional police forces and other law enforcement agencies, every one of these organizations had the task of surveilling and controlling the population while imposing and upholding colonial law, mainly through the use of force and, how you say that word?
Which one?
I can't see that. Sorry.
I can't see a slide. Let me see. Where's that? Corkin?
I can't say that word.
Corkin? It's probably a typo because I don't remember seeing that. But I mean, so the matter of the story is that it mentions some of the people. It said Night Watch. I want you to read again what said the Night Watch, because a lot of people don't know what that is.
Since the establishment of the first police systems like the Night Watch, the Bardian Code, slave code, the urban slave patrol, to the professional police forces and other law enforcement agencies. Every one of the organizations has had the task of surveilling and controlling the population.
Start right there. So what you're going to learn is that, I mean, as we read on, you're going to see the very first police force, like I said, the Night Watch, the Barbarians, Barbados, and also the Urban. And what you're going to find out is that the same tactics that America has to police and to have surveillance, to lock your ass up, all types of stuff. The same tactics that they have today, it's the same from back then. And it was always the same to enslave Black people. And that was really the whole main purpose of police, to keep the slaves in order, to keep them, bounded. Because if there wasn't police out there, then Black people would have took it upon themselves to, rise up against America, up against the British, up against, the white man entirely. All right, keep going.
Calm.
Where it says U.S. police.
U.S. police force U.S. police force was modeled after the British Metropolitan Police structure.
And that's where it started. Now that would be the 1500s. And that, as we dive into the colonial law enforcement, it would dig deeper into that. Keep going.
However, the modus operandi, especially when policing poor working class militia.
Which one? Migrant,
brown and Black neighborhoods in the present resembles the procedures of the 18th century Southern slave patrols.
So the Southern slave patrols, and also it says something about the slave codes. The slave codes is what you're going to see in most movies, like Django. I'm sure a lot of people have seen Django. If you ever seen that, if you ever seen The Birth of a Nation, if you've seen Roots, if you've seen a lot of, slave motivated movies, you're going to recognize these slave codes later on into the topic, and how terrifying, how horrible, Black people were done as a nation, as a people, back then and even today. All right. Keep going. And also the Black neighborhoods and the brown neighborhoods were the ones that were motivated, the ones that were being watched all the time, the ones that was getting raided by the white man, by the police, by the slave catchers. Okay, keep going.
Brown and Black neighborhoods in the present resembles the procedures of the 18th century Southern slave patrols, which developed from colonial slave codes and holding European settlements in the early 1600s.
So it's going to give you a time frame of when this all started. It really started in the 1530s, all right? The 1530s is where the birth of the police department, the very first one, with the slave patrols, with the slave catchers. And with the slave catchers, they had other people to help them in the process. And we're going to find out who these people were that helped enslave Black, Hispanic, Native American people, or, capture them, I should say. Go ahead and read that. And that's colonial.
Colonial law enforcement. Essentially, every colony in the Western Hemisphere, be it French, Spanish, Portuguese, or English, had difficulties when it came to controlling its slave population. So as you see, it says the western part of the world. Now understand that America wasn't always what it looks like today. See what I'm saying? Like, you see the map over there? America, it always looked like that. It's like half of the East Coast back then. All right, you know what I'm talking about. Right. So back then, so with that being said, you got what it say? Say England, France, French, Spanish, Portuguese, or English.
English. So all these people that had troubles trying to get their slaves in check and their slaves in order. All right. So they needed help. They went to somebody else for counsel on how to enslave Black and Hispanic people. Keep going.
When it came to controlling its slave population and designed similar systems to manage the problem. As early as the 1530s,
there you go,
runaway indigenous and African slaves already presented a problem for Spanish invaders.
Now start right there. Now it says African slave. Don't understand this shit. That's a typo. It should be African American so-called because we're not Africans. Right. See what I'm saying? And it also said indigenous. A lot of people say that, so-called Native American people, so-called, Hispanic people were never in slavery with us. And that's not true. Read that one more time from the top.
Come. As early as the 1530s, runaway indigenous and African slaves already presented a problem for Spanish invaders.
So the Spanish invaders would be the so-called white people, not Spanish people. Spanish people are white people, not Hispanic, Hispanic descent. Now, the Spanish invaders were having problems with the slaves that were Black, Hispanic, and Native American people, as you just read, all right? And so they needed help how to get them in order. And we're going to keep reading.
In the regions now known as Mexico, Cuba, and Peru, some of the first which
one?
Recognized procedures of slave patrols deployed in the 1530s were the volunteer militia, Santa Humanidad, or the Holly Brotherhood.
So with that, what you're going to find out is that the militia also worked with America later on with the police force to also, exercise more intense slave patrols or so-called, procedures. Today they call it procedures, but the nickname for that is, actually slave patrols. And if you pay attention, man, this is one movie. I can't remember the name of it, but, they used to use the word slave patrols. And then, there's like a time period in the movie, and it said, patrols or protocols that we, use to disarm, Black people. See what I'm saying? Keep going on that.
Come. Which chased fugitives in Cuba. The Hermandad had been established in Spain in the 15th century to repress crime in rural areas.
That's right.
And then transferred to the Spanish colonies. The Hermandad was later replaced by expert slave hunters known as...
By who? They were replaced by who?
Expert slave hunters.
They were replaced by expert slave who?
Hunters.
Hunters, there you go. And as you know, that the white man in the scriptures is considered to be a cunning hunter. Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying? Not just for food, but also for Black, Hispanic, Native American people. And if you read the book of Lamentations, they hunt our steps. All right? Keep going.
Come. Known as ranchadores.
Say that one. Ranchadores.
Ranchadores.
That's how you say it. Ranchadores. Yeah.
Known as ranchadores, who regularly employ brutal tactics.
Say that one more time.
Who regularly employ brutal tactics.
Brutal tactics. Go ahead.
That's what they call ranchers today.
That's
like
what.
In Texas.
Yes.
I've heard of ranchadores, but I didn't know if that's what it was.
Yep. And you know what's funny though?
Ranchers.
Yeah, I heard of ranchadores before too. I really didn't know who they were. But when I looked it up and seeing that, this is, historically from police or slave catchers, I didn't know. You know what I mean? It made more sense to me. So yeah, and they do have, cruel tactics all the time. And so, what you're going to find out is going to be the same.
That's where they got that little rope thing from.
Yeah.
Catching slave.
Right.
That's how they came up with that. They was catching.
Of course. Yeah. Go ahead.
Keep on. Mm-hmm. Come on. These slave catchers use ferocious dogs.
Ferocious dogs. Wait, please wind it back. Wind that back.
Salakia.
Go back. No, it's all good.
These slave catchers use ferocious dogs to capture escapees.
Now, what would you call that today? They use ferocious dogs for people today. Go ahead.
Police with their canine unit.
There you go. Come on, man. Now, what we have to understand is that it's still happening today. As a recent popular story that even happened in St. Paul, Minnesota, December of last year. I mentioned this, a couple of weeks, like a week or two ago. A sister by the name of, Desiree Collins. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Sister went out to throw away her trash at 6 a.m. She's like 57 years old. The police was looking for a suspect, and they said it was a little bit dark with the trees by the apartment building and shit like that. All a lie. And the dog just, jumped and attacked her. The canine dog bit her right arm, chewed it good. And messed with her, bit her left leg and ankle. And she pressed charges for that. Go ahead.
Yeah, but Mike, they let the dog.
Exactly, because
they were standing there, they let the dog chew on her for a little bit before they got the dog off. Because they got orders to get the dog off.
Yeah, what they call is commands.
Yeah, they got commands.
That's exactly, yes.
I've seen that, they let the dog.
Yeah, and they just sitting there. They were sitting there.
They told her to be calm.
Be calm. Like, how the hell can you be calm when the fucking dog is chewing on me? You know what I mean? Like, that shit hurts. You know what I mean? And man, the white man's a goddamn devil, man. And understand that, she pressed charges against that dog. And that dog just recently bit somebody earlier the year before in August. Mm-hmm. A report came out. And so, and the police officer said, like, one of the officers' name is Schmidt or some shit like that. He said that, the dog would not answer to the commands. He would not answer to the commands. If that's the case, if you knew that, you need a new damn dog.
Right.
But this dog was trained to bite niggas.
Right.
Was trained to kill, black people. You see what I'm saying? And, nobody can say that dogs ain't racist. I ain't trying to hear that shit. A trainer knows how to train a dog well. You see what I'm saying? And, I'll give it to white people. Because white people know how to train animals. Because they're animals.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So they know how to train their children who are animals. Go ahead.
I mean, I've ran into plenty of, not even police officers. I was just chased by a dog last year in Chicago.
See?
And there's people just moved in.
Right.
And you can't tell me there's all different kind of other people out there. Yeah, I'm kind of walking down the street. Dog just went off and came after me. And they was like, it's okay. I read it. I've seen dogs, when they see black folks, they ready to attack.
Right.
Everybody else walking by, they cool.
They cool.
Dog was trained, like you said.
Right, yeah. I've been bit by a dog too, so I understand. So yeah. And what's funny though, it was a dog in my household. So I think that dog was white spiritually. I don't think that dog really didn't like me, but that dog bit the shit out of me. So I felt that pain. You see what I'm saying? And that's what happened to the sister Desiree, Desiree Collins. And the same thing, the same tactics that they used back then, it's the same tactics today. I don't see no difference. Keep going.
Okay.
We got a lot to cover before it's 8:30. Come on.
In Peru, enslaved and free blacks owned by the okay. I can't pronounce that word.
It's damn, you got me messed up now. So,
I know the word, but I just can't say it. Right
it's
municipality.
Yes, that's how you say it.
Municipality.
I'm sorry, I just can't sound like. Go ahead.
So like I'm starting.
Go ahead.
In Peru, enslaved and free blacks owned by the
municipality.
Municipality.
Yeah.
Private individuals.
Goddamn, you got me sounding illiterate now. so what that's talking about is the municipality of private individuals. That's talking about prison. That's talking about owning your own slaves. And back then, they can have that slave do whatever they wanted the slave to do. Because
you said municipality
of private
individual.
Yes,
municipality is usually police department of the city.
Yes, but it's inside that city.
Slave plantation.
Yes, that's exactly. Yep. Also, like a precinct, like a certain city or damn, what's the other word for a precinct? Go ahead.
So you just proved that we still enslaved.
Hell yeah.
In the city.
Yeah. Oh man, hey, you gotta catch up.
In Minneapolis.
Yeah. You damn right. And it gets deeper though. You ready for this though? Come on, keep going.
I know. Just give me some.
No, just keep going. You gonna find out the worst shit about what's going on today from back then. Keep going.
Aided the Spaniard Calderos.
Yep.
Durillos.
No, you said it right the first time.
Calderos.
Yep.
In Lima. In the appropriation of runaways started around the 1540s.
1540s is when that, Black, Hispanic, Native American people were trying to, escape, trying to get some, type of freedom. But as you find out, the more that this happened, the more harsher the punishment got for Black people. And we always seen that through our history, so-called how Black, how white people try to depict how our history was. Keep going.
Okay. Administrators of the Spanish and Portuguese empires passed laws to handle slave-rated situations, including the capture and punishment of renegades.
Keep going.
Eventually, every Caribbean island and mainland settlements created their own.
So also I forgot to mention with the Caribbeans, with the indigenous people that were also enslaved, a lot of people don't tell you that the white man had them in slavery on the islands. They were being shipped to different places, like in the islands. That's why I said Mexico. That's why I said Puerto Rico, Peru, Cuba. We were once slaves there. Now, another thing is too, when it comes to holidays, Black people do not consider this at all because they don't know their history. When it comes to Thanksgiving, and you think about the worship of Thanksgiving, Black people, Hispanic, and Native American people are not supposed to celebrate that holiday. And the reason is because it's the day of, of our slaughter. It's a disrespectful smack in the face to all Hispanic and Native American people. Now, what a lot of people don't understand is that once Christopher Columbus got them, years later, niggas was next. Niggas is really next in line to get killed. The same, just like they did. A lot of people don't consider that because a lot of people don't know based on the time periods. You see what I'm saying? And that further proves that we are the same people, that we go through the same harsh punishment. I don't know any white man that was, enslaved how niggas was. You will have to fool me to let me believe that. Because when I look into the Bible and look at, Deuteronomy chapter 28, and I see how we were shipped off and sold to the enemy. I don't think the white man was there as a slave, but as a slave owner. He was auctioning, all of us off, separating and dividing all of our families and killing all of us later on in the process. All right, keep going.
Every Caribbean island and midland settlements created their own rules and regulations.
So after a while, what happened was, with the slave tactics and the information that they have got how to, control their slaves, they later came up with their own. They kind of freestyled. And that's when things became reckless already. You see what I'm saying? And the white man doesn't follow any goddamn rules. If you ask me, keep going.
And used a combination of former slaves, paid slave catchers, and the militia as apprehenders of them former or forerunners of patrol.
So pretty much the militia, the slave catchers and somebody else also were apprehenders for the ones that were running, for the slaves. Apprehenders meaning those that were in charge to keep them controlled and keep them, arrested. You see what I'm saying? Bonded. Keep going.
Salakia.
If
I may add real quick.
Go ahead.
I noticed that it said former slaves.
Former slaves, yes.
As well, to catch niggas.
Yeah, and that's what I'm going to get into. A lot of people say that, black people sold black people into slavery, but, these slaves were used to go catch other slaves as well. Because if they didn't, they would get killed. They would have...
That movie you just talked about,
Django,
right?
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Yeah,
he was.
I believe that turned into with the Birth of a Nation as well. Yeah.
Was he? Somebody was in there with a slave. There was somebody black in that movie that was slave catching.
I can't remember. That was a second ago. I can't remember, but I know Jamie Foxx was in there.
Right.
But besides, there was somebody else. I know, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But the whole point is that they had other black people, they had other Hispanic people, Native American people go find the other missing slaves that ran. See what I'm saying? That was dodging all those bullets. Now it gets bloody though in the process of learning what happened to those that got captured. All right, that ran away. Go ahead.
By the 1640s, Barbados, an English colony, had put in place a formal military structure which included white males, obviously, but also indentured servants and even free blacks, whose primary functions were patrolling slaves and protecting the island by foreign attacks. Of foreign attacks.
Now stop right there. Now, no matter what the situation was of us being in slavery, your life is already on the line, right? But those men that were helping the white men, the slave catchers, catch the missing slaves, they would be considered as traitors to Black, Hispanic, Native American people.
Right.
And we call them IUIC. We call them GMS. We call them everybody that goes against the nation of Israel. That's who we call them. All the Christians. Those are the ones that was catching the slaves and destroying them. You know what I mean? Go keep going.
Okay.
I need to read that one more time because it was some important words. How it described. Yes. Yep.
Okay. By the 1640s, Barbados, an English colony, had put in place a formal military structure which included white males, obviously.
It said white males, obviously. Keep going.
But also indentured slaves and even freed black whose primary functions were patrolling slaves and protecting the island of foreign attacks.
And how you know that those are Black, Hispanic, Native American people? Because white people are not indigenous and they are free, but they're never classified as free. In this context, it's talking about niggas. So that's how you know that it was Israelites capturing, helping the white man capture us. See what I'm saying? Keep going.
You want me to read the quote?
Yep, that's why I put it there, yep.
Though there be no enemy abroad, the keeping of slaves in subjection must still be provided for. That's Barbados Governor Willoughby.
Some shit like that. Like it. But no, but the whole purpose of that is that, you know, they had no choice. They had to do it. See what I'm saying? Otherwise, they would be killed. And, you know, it would have been better to die because you would have died anyway. See what I'm saying? In the hands of the white man. And one thing is that you cannot ever, ever in your life trust him, because he tells you that he's going to give you your freedom, and then he turns. I mean, when you turn your back, he shoots you in the back. He's saying that you try to run, and you just trying to walk inside of the house. See what I'm saying? Keep going.
Years later, other English islands and mainland colonies adopted the barbarian slave code as model, including Jamaica in 1664, South Carolina approximately in 1670, and Argentina, in 1702.
And so right now it's going to give you a time period. I mean, right now it's giving you a time period, and as the years went on from the 1500s to the 1640s, and now going into the 1700s in a second, what happened was other people started to adopt the culture, adopt the, you know, the tactics, adopt the way of, you know, controlling, you know, the people, the slaves. All right, keep going.
Come. Sunday, September 9th, 1739. The scene in Santo.
Which one? Where is it at?
Santo or Santo?
Yeah, no, Stono. Yeah.
Stono, South Carolina was a white man's nightmare come true.
Now, this is where the article gets good. Read that one more time from the top.
Okay. Sunday, September 9th, 1739.
Now we are into the 1700s. Keep going.
The scene in Stono, South Carolina was a white man's nightmare come true. Armed with knives and guns and drunk, 60 slaves set out for freedom in Florida, singing, dancing, and brutally murdering more than 24 whites among the way.
That's something beautiful to me, honestly. But we also got to understand something. As a nation, it did not help us, because there were still more slaves that were still bounded. See what I'm saying? You know, same thing with Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman did a wonderful act and thing, but the solution to us being free from the hands of the white man is us being empowered. And in order for us to be empowered, we had to, you know, we had to make a deal with the Most High again, which was to be a nation again with him, be a people. And in order to do that, you have to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. Because keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, when you read the Bible, you see that it always has helped us. But as soon as somebody goes against the law, that's when shit starts to, you know, fall down. You got the wisest man, King Solomon. King Solomon was one hell of a man, but even in his old age, he sinned. And because of it, the nation of Israel had to suffer for it. And he did not get punished right away because of King David's sake, because how powerful his father was, and in the things that King David had did for the Most High. And because of what King David did, it also put King Solomon in a place of rulership. If you read the book of Psalms, keep going.
Known now as the Stono Rebellion,
Stone of rebellion. So Black, Hispanic, and Native American people had a rebellion because they were tired of the slavery. They were tired of the captivity in which they were in. And because of that, they took a risk. And that was to kill their enemies. Keep going.
The revolt was the first major rebellion by slaves in South Carolina and the deadliest one on American soil in the 18th century.
In this part, this story right here reminds me of Nat Turner all over again. It reminds me of all those brothers and sisters that is never spoken of who had, took a risk, whether they died or not, to try to get their freedom again. And these are brothers and sisters who were upset, who were mad, who were, in a condition that they didn't want to be in no more. So they took it upon themselves to handle the situation. But the better situation would have been us going back to the Most High and allowing the Most High to kill all of our enemies. Keep going.
Come. While whites held the power in the slave-owning South, by the late 1700s, they were beginning to be vastly outnumbered by slaves.
Now, read that one more time, please.
Come. While whites held the power in the slave-owning South, by the late 1700s, they were beginning to be vastly outnumbered by slaves.
They were being outnumbered by slaves. Mm-hmm. Now, let me show you somewhere in the scripture where that talks about. And because of this, we are going to show you the emotion, the continence of the white man, because of how he saw that these people were multiplying. These people were outnumbering us. Now we got to do something. I need you to get Exodus 1:7.
Okay.
Exodus 1:7 is going to be a great precept, a great example of what the article was speaking of. Because understand right now, this is still, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Yep, go ahead. Yep. That's what. Just do me a favor. You can just put that door. I mean, you can put that in between the door. That's fine. Yeah. So yeah, go ahead. You got it.
Come.
Exodus 1:7.
Come. Exodus chapter 1 verse 7. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied. And
so keep going.
And waxed exceedingly mighty. Exceedingly
and multiplied.
Exceeding mighty.
Oh, so like my bad, read up here.
Yeah.
Exceeding mighty. So what that scripture is talking about is that when we stayed in Egypt, when we were enslaved in Egypt, the nation of Israel grew and grew and grew. And with us growing, I mean, we were outnumbering the goddamn Egyptians. And let's see what Pharaoh said. Keep going.
Okay. And the land was filled with them.
And the land was filled with niggas. Niggas everywhere. Keep going.
Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we.
Are what?
More and mightier than we.
Are what?
More and mightier than we.
Because there were a lot of niggas inside of Egypt. Read that one more time. What happened? He said what? The king said what?
And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we.
Now the king is speaking to his people, because it says his people. It didn't consider the children of Israel as a different people. So this is who's having the conversation. The king is having a conversation to his funky ass African kin. And he's telling them, like, look here, we have to deal wisely with these people because they are all over the place. They are, outnumbering all of us. Keep going.
Come on. Let us deal wisely with them.
Come on and let us deal wisely with them. And this is what the article was saying, because remember that the white man is still got, he still has a nightmare. And his worst nightmare is niggas outnumbering all of them. Keep going.
Come.
No. It's like right here. Yep, good. No, you dropped that right now. That's good. The water.
Brought over by the boatload to make plantations profitable rather than reviling and domination over their subjects. White South Carolinians were paranoid, fearing for their lives as the blacks began to outnumber them almost 2 to 1.
Almost 2 to 1. So, you know, the white man was the white man was really afraid because they didn't know how they were going to keep these people under their control. All the things that they learned seemed like it wasn't really working out anymore. And first of all, since there's a lot more black people than white people, there was a problem, and they needed another solution to the problem, because without the slaves, they were not able to survive as a people. White people, to be to be exact, white people was not going to be able to survive without Black, Hispanic, Native American people. Remind you, we built Egypt, we built Babylon, we built America, we built all types of places, and they all are spiritually the same. Well, damn near the same too, identical if you ask me. Keep going.
Okay. The Stono Rebellion brought the point home. In response to the Stono incident, South Carolina became the first of the 3 slave-owning states to adopt a comprehensive slave code.
So these 3 places, it says 3 states, right? Slave, yeah, states.
First of the 3 slave-owning states to adopt a comprehensive slave code.
Right. So these 3 states, you know, they took on the practice. They took on the responsibility. They took on the tools and study guide of trying to rule over these so-called slaves. All right. And Black, Hispanic, and Native American people have always been, a slave to the white man, has been a slave to all these nations. And that has to change today. See what I'm saying? Black, Hispanic, Native American people have to understand that, us being in slavery is allowing us to die. It has allowed us to be weak. It's the reason why we have Stockholm Syndrome today. It's the reason why we must separate at any cost, at any moment, away from the white man's world that he has to offer. Am I saying that you got to fly out of America? No. You don't have to do that. But what you do, you need to spiritually separate yourself from this place, so you don't have to be a slave anymore. Keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, and all the entire nation keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, that's what's going to help us be a nation that's going to rule over them. Because back then they used to be under us.
Right.
But Black people can't seem to remember that because they don't know their records.
Right.
All right, keep going.
Come. The new code officially established slave patrols, or paddy rollers.
Paddy rollers is just another word of saying paddy wagon. If y'all think about man, I believe it's Freddie Gray, who ain't that the brother whose neck got snapped in the paddy wagon? That's right. Freddie Gray is the brother who got thrown in the paddy wagon, and it snapped his damn neck, man. They snapped his neck, and when they went to go check up and look at him, he was already dead, man. See what I'm saying? The paddy wagon, it's something that is in America today that has been used from back then. It was a way to torture and throw a Black man into like a cage-like, box. See what I'm saying? And torture him. Don't feed him.
So like,
go ahead.
They also had those in in the Django movie too.
Yeah, because and that shows you that the tactics and everything else that they have today is the same thing from back then. All they did was just update everything. That's all. Police officers and always used to wear the blue. And what you're going to find out is that the police officers were the people that were in your community. So if you ever wondered why white people are rioting and there's no police to stop them, remind yourself that those are the police rioting. Those are the people in your community right next door that lives right next door to us. All your judges, all your senators, all your teachers. See what I'm saying? All your social workers, all your doctors are in the streets rioting for whatever the hell they riot about. See what I'm saying? Like I'm still trying to get over the fact that they had a council meeting about those Tide Pods. You know what I'm talking about? You know the washing machine pods? Children are eating them. They put it in their mouth. It's a big problem. They spending millions and millions of dollars. You want to protest about that, huh? But you ain't protesting about what's going on, with niggas. Keep going.
Okay. Groups of white men charged through civic duty to keep slaves down and keep revolts from happening.
So the police, just like today, they are used to control the crowd. They are used to, they are used to control the crowd of black people. And what they do is, if they see any opportunity of seeing black people together, they get rid of the slave gatherings. That's what they call it, a slave gathering. One thing the white man really hates is when they see a group of niggas in one setting, one place. They hate it. They get nervous. They get frustrated. Why is all these niggas in one place just laughing, having fun? And most places like New York, Minnesota, really every ghetto. I'll give you a great example, corner store. You can just be coming out of the corner store and the cops roll up and it's like, hey, go, because there's somebody shooting dice. There's somebody selling drugs and just getting busted. And they think it's you, so they grab everybody. You're getting your ass thrown in a car, in a paddy wagon, or in jail. And that's how it's always been throughout history. Keep going. And remind you, this is the 1500s, now leading up to the 1700s. Now that we can recap a little bit, has anything changed from back then to today? And no, it hasn't. And so how the police force is today is the same from back then. So white people will never have a change of heart, no matter how many times you try to protest, no matter how many times black people try to, try their best to seduce them and show them any type of compassion or love. And the white man's way of showing you anything is killing you, and that's hate. That's hate. See what I'm saying? And that's his job. He's paid to do that. A cop gets about $2,000 for killing a black man. No wonder in 2015, over 1,000, I believe it was like 1,136 black people were killed within the police brutality incident. But I don't never ever believe or subscribe to those numbers. And the reason why is because there's other dead bodies that are not being recorded or documented.
Right.
See what I'm saying? Keep going.
Okay. They're the subject of the new book, Slave Patrols, Harvard University Press, by Florida State historian Sally Hayden.
Yep, Sally Hayden is a lady that's giving us all this information. And there's actually a book called Slave Patrols. You can find it anywhere in the library. So some of this is from articles and others just quotations out of her book, all right? Just giving the most important facts. So now we're going to move on deeper meaning into the slave patrols in the southern colonies. Go ahead and get that out.
Okay. Slave patrols in the southern colonies. All white men aged 60 or aged 6 to 60 were required to enlist and conduct armed patrols every night, which consisted of searching slave residents.
Stop right there. It was a requirement. It was an order. It was a commandment to all white people. A white male aged 6 to 60, they had to learn and know these slave patrols by heart. And with these slave patrols, they got nasty. They got into niggas' business. When I say that they were all up on black people, understand what I mean when he reads this. Go ahead, read when it says search the slave resident. Searching slave residents.
I don't see that.
You just read it out. Consisted of.
Searching slave residents, breaking up slave gatherings.
Stop right there. So they search slave residents. As you know, that's not a okay. There's never ever it's never ever a warrant for that. They always just do it for whatever reason. See what I'm saying? And half of the time they don't ever, tell you why they're in your home. They just bust in your damn house no matter what you're doing. And try to find something. Oh, we got a call saying this and saying that. They just know that you got something going on sometimes, or sometimes they just want an opportunity to kill a nigga so they can get that check. An opportunity to be the devil that they are. Keep going. And they would break up slave gatherings, like at the corner store, like at a party, like at a park. Kids out there playing basketball. Nobody's harming each other. Niggas just being niggas having fun playing ball. And what happens? A white man comes up to the scene. A white woman comes up to the scene and breaks the whole thing and says, y'all got to take your ass home. All right? Before I put one inside of you. Remind you, that's how they talk to niggas. But to a white woman or a white man, they don't speak nothing like that. They don't talk like that to their own kind. This is a nation that is cruel and that is very, very vile against Black and Hispanic people. All right? Keep going.
And protecting communities by patrolling the roads. Historian Sally Hayden notes.
Go back. It said by protecting what?
Communities.
And patrolling?
By patrolling the roads.
Now, what is that talking about? Patrolling the roads. What is that talking about today? Go ahead.
Neighborhood watch.
Neighborhood watch. And how do cops usually do it?
How do they do it?
Yeah.
They patrol the streets. They in their own community.
But the thing is, it's never in their own community. It's always in niggas' community.
That too.
Like for example, if you pay attention and you drove around South Minneapolis a little bit, Somalians got their own little town over there. See, we call it Somali town because they got their own little town over there in South Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And then when you go over the bridge, there's nothing but niggas. I've never, ever, driving around over there, never, ever seen cops where the Somalians is at. Right across from the bridge is always police by the shelters, by the corner stores, by the food restaurant stores, because there's nothing but niggas there. I've never seen police in suburbs ever in my life, unless it was niggas in the neighborhood. That's it. That's it. Go ahead.
Unless they was behind you.
Unless it was behind you. There you go.
What you doing?
There you go. And when it says patrolling the roads, that means going up and down the street with their cars as well. Late at night. Where you supposed to be at? I'm trying to go home. You're lying. No, I live right here. I live down the block. Oh, come on. You got to come on because we got to pick you up for curfew. You see what I'm saying? They try to find any opportunity to catch you. Man, it's a scripture in Psalms. I forget it. Either Psalms or Proverbs that says that they hide and lay wait for you. Man, that's such a powerful scripture because that's true. Huh? They
lie like a lion or something like that.
Yes, you're right. Yeah. You're right. Yes, I gotta find the scripture. Yes, that's what we're talking about. With and it showed a picture of the example of the scripture, and it was cold. And what it was a cop car hiding behind a tree, and it was a little dark. And I don't know what it is for these cops, but they have secret hiding places on the highways everywhere. They were like, yeah, your blinkers wasn't on. You know what I mean? You was driving, under the speed limit, over the speed limit. You see what I'm saying? You're driving too fast, too slow, whatever the case may be. You didn't do that turn right. You see what I'm saying? You was driving in 2 lanes, just anything they can do. You see what I'm saying? To try to catch you up and try to kill you. I speak about this all the time as well. And like Baltimore, Philly, New York, like southern and like most racist places, even down south. If you was a black man in the 60s or 70s and you got pulled over, you wouldn't see your father. 9 times out of 10, you would not see that man again. And the mothers and the wives of that husband or of that man or that child who's a male, they knew that if their son did not come back home, or if that man did not come back home into the house at a certain time, that they know that the cops got him. Either he's in jail or he's dead somewhere. Mm-hmm. And then the cops come to the door and we found his ID and blah blah blah. He was struck by this. He was attacked by this. He was beaten up by this. See what I'm saying? I'll give you also something as well. The KKK is motivated into the police departments, of course, to the police brutality, because police officers are KKK members. See what I'm saying? That's not, that's not rocket science. Everybody should know that. I remember the story of this brother, man, who was trying to get a ride from a white man. And these white men, all 3 of them were KKK members. And pretty much, they tricked the black man into giving him a ride and stuff like that. And they tied him up by the legs. And, you know how you put a trailer onto the back of the car? Mm-hmm. And it's that little thing where you can lock it. So they tied the other end of the rope onto there, and they dragged him on the highway. Mm-hmm. And they found fingers. They found his head off his body up and down the highway. And this is, I believe, this was in Mississippi. No, this is like in the early 1900s. Oh, okay. You see what I'm saying? And so, and they were very popular in the community in which they lived in. And it just shows you the spirit of the white man, no matter what. And all the brother wanted was just a ride to where he was trying to go. Instead, they was playing games with him. And the white man, and the one white man, I forget his name, but he was an evil ass devil. He said, if I can do it again, I would. He said it was fun. And I believe they gave him an electric chair and he died. But that's not enough. This brother in the school, he said something very powerful. He said, allowing white people to be killed and die is too easy for me. He said, I want them to suffer how black people suffer. Right. He says, I want their spirit. And when he said I want their spirit, he said I want their spirit to be like how ours is, just in pain and agony. And he wants them to feel how we feel, to the point where white people can't take it no more. All they want is suicide. And there's a certain stress level on the white man. That's why they always kill themselves. See what I'm saying? You ever heard of family annihilators? Mm-hmm. That's something that white people cannot take. Can't take not working. They can't take not having a family. Just simple things like that will allow them to kill themselves. And if they were in the shoes of Black, Hispanic, Native American people, they would want to kill themselves. And, in the I.S.U.P.K, we teach something out of the Bible. And in the Bible, it tells us that there's prophecies coming near, you know, about a slavery coming near to a white man and his whole entire nation that he's going to be in slavery.
Right.
And with that, I want all of them to suffer. And I will make them suffer. And the scriptures also says, meditate terror. And that's a powerful scripture. Because I'm gonna write some notes down. How they came up with the same tactics, I'm gonna come up with the same similar tactics and even better ones to kill them when the time comes. If I can get any righteous opportunity, your head's gonna be cut off, but it's gonna be more than that. I'm gonna let your children watch. Man, it's gonna be beautiful, man. I'm gonna tell the I.S.U.P.K, hey, it's gonna be a little massacre over my house. You know, make sure you bring the strong, make sure you bring the popcorn, make sure you bring your phones. You want posters all over the internet, just how they did with us. Remember that game, Kill the Nigger Baby? It's gonna be the same thing with them, because the scripture says in Psalms that, you know, we will get a chance to dash their little ones' heads against the stone. You know, and I always wanted to exercise my boots, besides walking on, you know, these hard pavements and stuff like that. See what I'm saying? So keep reading on that sidebar. I got too much into the spirit. Go ahead.
Come. In the countryside, such patrols were to visit every plantation within their respective districts once in every month, and whenever they thought it necessary, to search and examine all Negro houses for offensive weapons and ammunition.
Right. So the white man, so the so-called police, the same thing when they run into your house, without, you know, I mean, without a warrant, without no type of permission, without no type of reason at all, they try to search for any drugs, any type of you know, like bombs or weapons.
Right.
See what I'm saying? And that's how they get a lot of these celebrities too. These celebrities are just dumb as hell, man. I love black people, but they do the dumbest shit sometimes. See what I'm saying? They always getting busted. Every 6 months, I'm seeing somebody just getting busted with some type of drug charge, with some type of, you know, weapon charge. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, you know, keep going.
Come. They were also authorized to enter any disorderly tippling house or other houses suspected of harboring, trafficking, or dealing with Negroes.
So if you were a Negro, they was going to come into your house anyway. They will invite themselves in. They don't have to ask for permission for a goddamn thing. Mind you, these are a lawless, ruthless people, a people who do not have any type of humanity inside of them, any type of spirit that, you know, knows what morals are. They don't follow any type of, you know, laws. All right, keep going.
Come. And could inflict corporal punishment on any slaves found to have left his owner's property without permission.
So if a slave was to be, you know, if a slave was to run away, there was a punishment, but it's going to list the punishment. So make sure you listen closely. Keep going. Or it's going to say it later on in a second, but keep going.
Slave patrols have full power and authority to enter any plantation and break open Negro houses or other places where slaves were suspected of keeping arms.
So, as you may know, projects are plantations. It's just a different name, but it's also treated the same. You know what I'm saying? There's a community of slaves today. And with the slaves, they stay in the projects, which are the new modern day plantations. Keep going.
To punish runaways or slaves found outside their plantations without a pass.
Without a pass. So these slaves needed permission to leave the plantation, to leave the home, like they got, you know, some type of damn curfew or something. This is how we were treated like children. like animals. Keep going.
To whip any slave who should affront or abuse them in the execution of their duty.
Keep going.
And to apprehend and take any slave suspected of stealing or other crime or other criminal offense.
So if any of these slaves broke any of the laws or rules that they had set up, they would get punished. Keep going.
And bring him to the nearest majesty.
That's right. Keep going.
Magistrate. Salaki.
Yeah, magistrate. Keep going.
Free blacks and suspicious whites who associate with slaves were also supervised.
So these slaves were also supervised because they didn't want them to be out of order. They wanted to keep the power. They wanted to keep the rules and everything that they had set up for the slaves. They wanted to keep it the same. All right, keep going.
Come. Slaves lived in a state of trauma and paranoia due to the terror that patrols installed in them.
Sound like Walter Scott. Sound like Sandra Bland. Sound like Tamir Rice. Sound like Mike Brown. All these people who dealt with some type of trauma with the white man, and in the way that they was being killed and attacked, any black man will be traumatized by it, and they can't do anything to defend themselves against them. Keep going.
Various slave owners from different colonies provide an account of their daily lives.
So they pretty much watched over their everyday lives. And with them watching over their everyday lives, they had, dominion over these people, man. These people were not, black people were like, they had no mind of their own. They had no sense of right or wrong or what to think. The white man thought for them. The white man told them what to do and how to do it. And if they didn't do it, they would get punished for it. Much like today. Keep going.
The paucity of research done on slave patrols is seemingly out of proportion to large roles they played in the perpetuation.
Which one was it? I think I was talking about this one. It's perpetuation.
Perpetuation,
like it's just like the same as saying perpetual hatred.
Okay. Perpetuation of the slave system in the South. Every slave-owning state had active, established patrols, and though they had many functions within the community, they had one basic job: to act as the first line of defense against a slave rebellion.
So anytime they suspected something, as far as anytime they suspected some type of rebellion going on, as far as the slaves gathering together, they will take action right away. See what I'm saying? Keep going.
They caught runaway slaves, enforced slave codes, discouraged any large gathering of black folks.
Exactly the point. So, they got nervous at the fact of seeing a whole bunch of black people, a group of them in one place, because they believed that they were speaking about overthrowing the white man, overthrowing, the taskmasters. All right, keep going.
And generally perpetuated the atmosphere of fear that kept the slaves in line.
Keep going.
Simple slave codes, the slave codes of the tobacco colonies.
Wait. I want you to read sample slave codes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Sample slave codes, the slave codes of the tobacco colonies.
Yep.
Delaware,
Maryland,
North Carolina, and Virginia were modeled on the Virginia Code established in 1667.
So these places that I mentioned, Delaware, Maryland, North Carolina, and Virginia were the places where the slave codes had begun. All right. It mentioned earlier about what the slave codes was, but it's going to get into deeper meaning to give you the more depth of what the slave codes were. All right. So keep going on that.
The 1682 Virginia Code prohibited slaves from possessing weapons, leaving their owner's plantation without permission, and lifting a hand against a white person.
So anytime that a black man or a black woman felt that it was right to stand up for themselves, just understand that they were going to be killed with no hesitation. If you even speak something that's out of turn or you know, something that's out of order concerning, you know, a white man, and he feel like he's offended, you are going to be killed. All right. And also understand that these places like Delaware, Maryland, North Carolina, Virginia, the slave codes as well, the British also, you know, because it's mentioned something about the tobacco. They looked at this as money, and with the money, in order for them to get this money, like with the tobacco, with the cocaine later on in years, with all these herbs and oil and stuff like that, that the slave masters were, you know, they have a dominion or authority over. With them having authority over this, the slaves were very important to help out with that. You know, with the cotton, with the rice fields, all types of stuff, man. Keep going.
Even in self-defense, in addition, a runaway slave refused to surrender could be killed without penalty.
Walter Scott. Walter Scott was a brother who you know, just ran from the cop, and he got shot about, like, I believe 6 times, man. And the gun got planted on him when somebody recorded the cop, you know, shooting an innocent man and said that he tried to grab for his gun. That's ridiculous, man. He killed him purposely. See what I'm saying? Also, you can't even brush up against a cop. If you do, they will arrest you. You can't even brush up to a cop, man. This is how sensitive these niggas is. I mean, it's like, that's how sensitive these damn devils is, man. All right, keep going. Self-defense. Self-defense is not, it's not something that exists in a white man's mind. It's more of, you were trying to take my life, so I'm going to take yours. Whether you say something, you know, rude, disrespectful, I'm going to take your life, and I'm going to, you know, be not held accountable for it. Mm-hmm. And that's how it always is, man. Keep going. More of the slave codes.
South Carolina established its slave code in 1712 with the following provisions.
Right.
Slaves were forbidden to leave the owner's property unless they obtained permission or were accompanied by a white person. Any slave attempting to run away and leave the colony received the death penalty.
So there was a penalty, and it required you to be killed if you disobeyed any of these commands that the white man had set up. So if you left the plantation without a pass, nigga, you're dead. You see what I'm saying? And there's nothing you can do. You can't plead for your life. You can't, you know, kiss up to the white man. See what I'm saying? And black people, we have never, I mean, from the beginning of time, man, this is not the life that we had as a nation. Remember that we were over these people, man. And the Most High chose us. Because the reason why we are in slavery is because of our sins, man. And that's something that we have to change. The white man is the devil that the Bible speaks of. Don't get it twisted. Right. Don't forget that the white man is cruel and evil. And if you do not believe me, go outside your door for a second and see a black man's body laid out in the streets, man. Go ahead.
Any slave who evaded capture for 20 days or more was to be publicly whipped for the first offense.
Publicly whipped for the first offense. That's the first thing. What's the second one?
Branded with the letter R on the right cheek for the second offense.
Your skin will burn on your ass cheek because the white man is a fucking animal, man. Keep going.
Come. Lose one ear if absent for 30 days for the third offense.
And the white man is not the devil, you say? The white man is the devil that the Bible speaks of, man. That's crazy. That's not something that is normal. You see what I'm saying? Go ahead.
Well, they used to call that that's the earmark.
Exactly.
Like that's a common term now, the earmark.
Yep.
You say, oh, that's a mark of the devil, what it was, slavery.
Yep.
That sounds similar to,
Yep.
Dig at the death, but that's kind of similar to some of the regulations you have on some of these jobs.
Yeah.
Show up, no call, no show.
Yeah.
You're done. You ain't got nowhere to be from 9 to 5. So you just walk on the streets, police still like, what you doing?
Exactly.
And you like, come here, let's pat you down.
Exactly. See, yeah, and that's a spirit that always been the same throughout these years, throughout the 1500s. All the way up to 2018. You see what I'm saying? Man, you know what? And the thing is about the tactics, though, it goes way deeper. This is just like an introduction. There's other things that are being used that the police are using against niggas that there's so much history behind it. I never even got into why they wear blue, why and where it comes from. It goes all the way back to Rome. It goes all the way back to Egypt. Yeah, but that's another class though. So if you want to come in tune, most likely next Wednesday, then you'll hear more about it. Keep going on that.
Come. And castrated for the fourth offense.
That's crazy, man. And that's the same thing that's happening today. Have you ever seen a black man get killed execution style? They do it all the time to a nigga, every time. Remind you, a 12-year-old boy, man, Tamir Rice. He was only 12 years old playing with a toy gun, and a white lady just happened to, call the cops and say that there's somebody outside playing with a gun. She don't know if it's a toy gun, if it's a real gun. You see what I'm saying? And the cops didn't even get out the car yet. They literally rolled up onto the grass where he was at. He turns around and look, they shoot him and he kills him, 12 years old. You don't, what the hell is in your mind to run up on a kid like that and just shoot him while you're in the car? Any other time, if it's a white man, what happens? Sir, put the gun down. I'm not going to tell you again. And what they do, they tell him again. They tell him 10 more times. They give a nigga not even half the time a chance. It's you're done. You're dead. I'm in fear of my life because I feel like you're going to harm me. So I have to protect myself first. And even when you don't have a weapon. This is one brother too. His name is Paul. Paul something, I believe. But no one really knows the story behind how this all started. This brother was running. When this brother was running, he was naked for some reason. Brother was naked running in the streets, and they said that he had something. How the hell can this man have something when he's butt-ass naked? And they still shot him. See what I'm saying? You never heard that? Oh man, this is not old. It's not that old. It's about almost 2.5 years ago, man.
Naked.
2.5 years ago. See what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lie to you. A long time ago, I thought Rodney King. Rodney King. No. Rodney King did die right away. No, that's right. I'm thinking of somebody else. When the situation happened with Rodney King, I thought he died then and there, but I was a young man at the time. But later I found out that he was still alive. You know what I mean? And I can only imagine the amount of humiliation that he went through. because of that situation with the police, man. They stripped that man of his insanity. See what I'm saying? They stripped everybody from their insanity with the shit that happened. I mean, not insanity, my bad. Am I saying right? Sanity.
Sanity.
Yeah, I say insanity. I'm saying that's the opposite. But, you know, like the police or white people, period. White people have destroyed Black and Hispanic people in multiple ways, man. Has broken our spirits, has broken our minds with the devices, with the systems that they got set up. And mind you, it's for niggas only. See what I'm saying? And half of the things that they got around their belt, half of the things, you know, protocols that they have for, you know, disarming people or to protect themselves or protect other people, they don't use on any other race. We are number one. You know, our blood is number one on their hands. Nobody else. Keep going.
Okay. Owners refusing to abide by the slave code were fined and forfeited ownership of their slaves.
Say that one more time, please.
Okay. Owners refusing to abide by the slave code were fined and forfeited ownership of their slaves.
So if a white man, you know, took it upon himself not to, you know, do the acts of harming a slave, he would be chastised for it. He wouldn't have no more slaves, and he was fined. How much was he fined? Does it say?
No.
Okay, no sweat. So he was fined. However much money it was. Now let me ask you: does this mean that he showed compassion and love for the slaves? No, it doesn't. See what I'm saying? Because okay, same thing with Abraham Lincoln. A lot of people don't know that Abraham Lincoln set out an order for black or Native Americans to be killed, to be slaughtered. 50. It was like 50 or more of them. A lot of people do not know that, to be hung. See what I'm saying? And plus he had slaves when he came out with the when he said that it was abolished and all that. You see what I'm saying? It was still going on. The slavery is still going on today. And people always try to show some type of love and compassion for Abraham Lincoln. You see what I'm saying? And now the thing is, even if he would have never set out that order, he still would have been, you know, responsible for the crimes of his people. Because understand that we are never, okay, nobody looks at each other as individuals. The white man doesn't look at you, me, or him as an individual. All of you are the same. All of you are drug dealers that wear a hoodie. That's what they said about Trayvon Martin. Right. All of you that, you know, are all black, y'all are suspicious of something, maybe raping me. You see what I'm saying? And it's crazy. And, you know, I was just, before I talked to class, you know, earlier today, I was watching something. And I watched how the white lady had killed, you know, this black man, but it's a TV show. But even watching that, her comments were very, very racially motivated. And it showed the true spirit of white people in a general sense or anything. There's nothing that there's nothing that nobody can say to save white people from how they really feel about niggas. They have this perception that's always been there, that we are bad and terrible. But how about the nation of people that always, you know, pray to kill us? You see what I'm saying? We are killed like animals, but they call us animals. Disgusting. And that shows you how America is filled with nothing but hypocrisy, like the scriptures also say. Keep going. We got a few minutes left. Keep going.
Come. Slave homes were searched every 2 weeks for weapons and stolen goods, punished for violations including loss of ears, branding, nose splitting, and death.
So they would even cut your nose, man. They would cut your body part. They would cut your body part. And you know what's crazy about this? They're not mentioning breaking the buck, where they'll take the most strong, masculine, you know, muscular looking man and rape him in front of other men or his family. You And it was a way of breaking their spirit down and punishing them in the midst of the white man being a filthy ass homosexual by nature. Keep going.
No slave was allowed to work for pay or to plant corn, peas, or rice, or to keep hogs, cattle, or horses.
Now you just heard that from back then, right? In the 1700s.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's the same thing that happened in America with the Labor Day laws, the holiday Labor Day laws. They made it to where if someone was working a job, they would not actually get hired on or paid for it. And I'm really speaking about the Mexicans. So they would be doing free labor and free work. Oh, I misplaced the check. Oh, I don't have it. You see what I'm saying? And these are rich, filthy, rich ass white people, man, who is playing with people's money, playing with people's, families. You see what I'm saying? And that's the white man for you. That's the devil. And I say woe to all of those devils, which means destruction. And I pray that all our enemies fall so black people can be them niggas again, man. Them niggas who was just doing fine without them. Them niggas who was enslaving them. And the white man will be our slaves in the near future, man, once Christ comes back.
That's right.
But there's so much work to be done. If we want that to happen as a nation, man, we got a lot of work to do.
Right.
Remind you, Christ is supposed to be back a long time ago. A very long time ago, man. I want you to read a little bit more, then we're going to wrap up.
Okay. Or to own or operate a boat, to buy or sell or wear clothes finer than Negro clothes.
What?
Read that one more time.
Come.
See, yeah.
From the top.
Yeah, what talks about the Negro club? There, go ahead.
No slaves were allowed to work for pay or to plant corn, peas, rice, or to keep hogs, cattle, or horses, or to own or operate a boat, to buy or sell or wear clothes finer than Negro clothes. So
they had to be a bum. They had to be, needy and want in need of all things.
Right.
And that whole description with the sample slave codes, you can read all that in the book of Deuteronomy. So you can read that just there. And when it talks about the not being able to farm and stuff like that, and the scriptures also is called being a husbandman. Husbandman is just another old term or word for saying a farmer.
Right.
So they wasn't able to survive the way that everybody else is surviving. It reminds you that these people are being greedy because they're getting resources from other countries and places. The British is. See what I'm saying? England, just all these places are getting resources and getting rich off of it. And also they're getting rich off of the slaves too.
Mm-hmm.
These masters wasn't just, sitting around looking bummy and stuff like that. They were making money off these slaves.
Right.
Although they was killing them off, they needed still a certain amount to keep the money going, to keep the work supply going. And the same thing in the jail system. Victoria's Secret, AT&T, Starbucks, all these places, prisoners work for them in the jail, in the prisons for cents a day. I know a family member in there, and he was like, "Yeah, I work for a cell phone company." I'm like, "A cell phone company? What are you talking about?" And he was like, "Oh, they have certain jobs that we work for. You said how you shop at a certain store outside the jail." I was like, "Shit, I even know there were stores inside the jail." So I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Well, I pretty much fix up this and fix up that, and it has something to do with phone company." I'm like, I was like, "What phone company?" It's like AT&T. And I was like, "How much you getting paid?" He's like maybe like 40 cents an hour. That's slavery. Are you kidding me? It's sometimes even lower than that. So while everybody's loving Starbucks, Victoria's Secret, AT&T, McDonald's as well, Walmart. These people are endorsing the, these people are paying, are getting rich from prisoners, doing all the damn work. And also, if there is not niggas inside of the prison system, police officers are not getting paid. Right. So they're very, the trigger finger is very happy to go get $2,000 or $1,000 from off of a dead body, a black man or a black woman. Man, it's so much more I want to cover on this topic though, but I just might do a part 2 next week because there's other information that needs to be spoken about when it comes to police brutality. See what I'm saying? So with that being said, this is I.S.U.P.K, Historical Truths Revealed class. Catch us next Wednesday at 6:30. All right, make sure you share, comment, subscribe. I.S.U.P.K. I.S.U.P.K Minneapolis is on Facebook, Instagram, and also Twitter. All right, please share the content. And don't forget about the Passover, the 49th annual Passover hosted by Commander GEN.YAHANNA, 2nd Hudson Street, Yonkers, New York, Roosevelt Ballroom, $200 per family. If you cannot make it, make sure you contact the person who is the leader of your state, and it will be covered, all right? So with that being said, shalom, Israel.
Shalom.
All right.